All right, get ready to dive deep because today we're talking about conversations with God.
Definitely a fascinating one.
You brought excerpts, and I gotta say, this is not your typical religious text.
Yeah, not at all.
This is Neale Donald Walsch
Yeah.
claiming he had like actual conversations with God, and the book's basically the transcript.
Yeah, pretty bold claim, right?
Yeah.
To say, I talk to God.
Exactly, exactly.
That's what makes it so interesting, you
Yeah,
know?
yeah.
It's Walsh hitting rock bottom, full of these huge life questions, and bam! This dialogue starts up out of nowhere.
Just like that.
And people really connected with it, like millions of them found it life-changing. It's
Right.
like deep down, we've all got these big questions, right?
Yeah, we do.
What's it all about? Who are we? What's the bigger picture? And Walsh is saying, hey, I got some answers.
And not just reading words on a page.
No, no, no.
But like letting those words spark something within you.
Absolutely.
He even says, hey, if traditional religion doesn't resonate, question it. Trust your own experiences.
Exactly.
And the way it's written, like a conversation, it's like we're eavesdropping on something so personal.
Right.
Walsh even says in the beginning, he almost kept it all secret because it felt so private.
Wow.
And here's where it gets really interesting for me.
Okay.
He's saying God's not bound by some old book or some dogma.
Right.
He says God's talking to us all the time through our experiences, our gut feelings, even our doubts.
Interesting, yeah.
It's like, trust your own internal compass, even if it points you in a direction you weren't expecting.
Yeah, because that inner voice, that's where it gets interesting, right?
And then there's prayer. He throws the whole begging for favors thing out the window.
Really?
Instead, he says, be grateful for what you have now, and even what hasn't happened yet.
Huh?
It's like celebrating in advance
Interesting.
to get your energy aligned with what you want.
Oh, I like that.
Have you ever tried visualizing a goal and really feeling that excitement?
Yeah.
He's saying that's a form of prayer, too.
Interesting.
So then it makes you wonder, if our thoughts are so powerful,
Yeah.
what about fear?
That's huge, right?
The book says fear is like the opposite of faith, like hitting the mute button on your inner guidance system.
Yeah, you're blocking yourself off.
Exactly.
But
Limiting yourself.
it's like choosing a black and white life when you could have full color.
Wow. Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
And, you know, since our listeners are all about that personal growth.
This part is key. The book says choosing love over fear, even in small moments, can change your reality.
Powerful stuff.
It's about making those conscious choices that line up with your best self.
Love that.
But then, how do we know what's good and bad?
Right, that's the age-old question.
Walsh says those labels are subjective,
Okay,
based on our own values, not some universal rule book.
makes sense.
So life becomes about figuring out what matters most to you and making choices that reflect that.
You're creating your own compass.
Exactly. But it's not a free-for-all, right?
Right.
The book says don't just act for personal gain.
There's got to be more to it.
There's got to be something bigger, a bigger picture.
Absolutely.
And that leads to another big idea. He says the state of the world reflects all our thoughts and beliefs combined.
Whoa.
It's a big one, right?
Yeah, so, like, our collective consciousness is creating the world around us.
Yeah, so think about things like poverty, the environment, conflicts.
Big issues.
The book suggests these aren't punishments from God,
Okay.
but they're consequences of all our choices.
Our collective choice.
Our choices as humans.
Interesting.
And if you think about it, if fear, greed, and disconnect are driving so many decisions,
Which they are.
it's not surprising the world reflects that.
That's a lot to take in.
It is. It is.
It's heavy, but also it's empowering in a way, right?
It is because it means we can shift things, starting with ourselves.
Yeah, by shifting our own thoughts and actions.
Exactly.
Wow. Okay.
But let's bring it back down to earth a little bit, to something a little more relatable.
Sure.
Relationships.
Yeah.
I noticed in these excerpts, he dives deep into human connection.
Yeah, he does. Yeah, and he says it's not about finding your other half, you know, to complete you.
Right.
It's more about using those relationships, those connections, as a way to learn about yourself.
To grow.
To grow.
Okay.
Become the best version of yourself.
I like that.
Right.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, how often do we think, oh, I need to find the one?
Oh, all the time.
And really, it's like, you are the one.
Yeah.
And then you connect with someone else who's also the one.
Yeah.
And you can, you know, reflect each other and all of that.
There's this line that really got me thinking.
Okay.
He says, the purpose of relationships is to decide what part of yourself you would like to see unearthed.
Ooh, I like that.
It's like, whoa, it's deep.
Yeah.
It's not about finding a soulmate. It's about uncovering these hidden parts of ourselves.
Yeah, and that can be scary.
It can be.
Right,
Yeah.
because, sometimes it's easier to stay in those shallow waters.
Right.
But he talks about how many people, they give up on that potential.
They settle.
They settle.
Big time.
Why do we do that?
Oh, man, so many reasons.
Is it fear?
Fear is a big one, right?
Yeah.
Society tells us we got to do this, got to do that, got to be married by this age, all these expectations.
Right.
And we forget that the real purpose, the juicy stuff, is that personal growth, evolution.
Yeah, and maybe those expectations, they make it feel safer
Oh, absolutely.
than being vulnerable, putting yourself out there.
Yeah, it's like we choose the known over the unknown, even if the unknown might be way more exciting.
And fulfilling, potentially.
Exactly.
So speaking of uncovering hidden depths.
This book really dives into abundance, especially with money.
Oh, yeah, that's a big one.
And I know you've been thinking about that lately.
Oh, yeah, it's been on my mind.
What's the book's take on that?
Well, it's funny because he says money itself, it's not good or bad.
Okay.
It's all about the energy we put on it.
How we think about it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We say we want it, but then we call it the root of all evil.
Right.
And it's like you're sending out these mixed messages to the universe.
You're blocking yourself.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You're basically saying, I want you, but I don't want you.
Makes sense.
And then we wonder why we don't have it.
Right.
It's like you got to get your mind right first.
So how do we do that? Because I think a lot of us, we have those limiting beliefs about money.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
How do we break out of that?
Well, he suggests something really interesting.
Okay, I'm listening.
He says, act before you think.
What does that even mean?
It means, imagine giving money away,
Okay.
even when every cell in your body is like, no, you need to save every penny.
Right.
But you just do it.
You go for it.
You take that leap of faith,
Interesting.
and you prove those old scarcity patterns wrong.
Okay, so you're kind of taking control.
Exactly. You're saying, I'm not going to be limited by these old beliefs anymore.
It's like that saying, leaf in the net will appear.
Yes, exactly.
Like you take the action first,
Trust.
and then the trust comes, or the knowing, or whatever.
The universe will meet you halfway.
Wow, I like that.
It's all about shifting your energy.
So we're not just like these passive bystanders in our own lives. We have agency.
You are the creator
Okay, I like that.
of your own reality.
It's a lot of responsibility, though.
It is, but it's also incredibly empowering
It is.
to know that you have that power.
It's a lot to process.
Yeah, it is for sure.
But, speaking of mind-blowing concepts,
Okay.
you had a few questions in your notes about things we haven't gotten to yet.
Right.
One of them was about life on other planets.
Oh, yeah.
Are we alone in the universe, according to this book?
Big question.
It is a big question.
And Walsh says, no, we're not alone.
Really?
Yeah, he actually suggests that we've been visited
By,
by beings from other worlds.
like aliens?
Like aliens.
Okay, now my mind is officially blown.
Right.
I mean, it's a whole other level.
It's
So if there are other beings out there, do they have their own version of God?
That's where it gets even more interesting.
Okay.
He says there's one ultimate source,
Okay.
but it expresses itself in infinite ways.
Okay.
So it's like, imagine a prism,
Oh, yeah.
and it's scattering light into all these different colors.
Okay.
It's all the same light, just experienced differently.
So we're all connected to the same source, just
Exactly.
experiencing it through our own unique lens.
Exactly.
That's kind of beautiful, actually.
It is beautiful.
Yeah.
That's a beautiful way to think about it.
It's like we're all part of something so much bigger.
Yeah, we're all connected.
And as we're wrapping up this deep dive, I keep coming back to that line, you are my body.
Such a powerful statement.
It is.
So much packed into those 4 words.
It really makes you think about everything differently.
Totally.
Like, what's the purpose of life? What is reality even?
And all the big questions.
Yeah. And it makes you think about your body in a whole new way.
It's not just this physical shell.
Right.
It's an expression of something divine.
It's a big shift.
Huge.
So, knowing everything we've talked about today, what are your final thoughts on that? You are my body.
I think it's a reminder that we are not separate from something greater than ourselves.
Okay.
We are it.
We are it.
We are expressions of it.
It's a both humbling and empowering thought.
Absolutely.
And maybe even a little bit scary,
It can be, yeah.
because it means we have a lot more responsibility than we realize.
And potential.
And potential.
Right.
Yeah.
If we are expressions of the divine,
Yeah.
imagine what we're capable of.
It's a lot to sit with.
It is.
I'm going to be thinking about this for a while.
Me too.
But I think that's a good thing, right?
Oh, yeah, For sure.
to have your mind expanded like that.
That's what it's all about. It's like we're training ourselves to live from a different place, you know?
Yeah.
Instead of reacting out of fear, we're choosing love,
Right.
even when it's uncomfortable.
It's like building a new muscle, like you said.
Exactly.
Uh,
And each time we do it, it gets a little easier.
we're strengthening that connection to something bigger.
And remember how we were saying our collective consciousness shapes the world?
Yeah, yeah.
It all starts with those individual choices, those moments of courage.
So if enough people start choosing love over fear,
The possibilities are huge.
the whole world could shift.
Exactly. It's not just some woo-woo idea.
It's pretty radical when you think about it.
It is, but it's also incredibly hopeful.
Yeah, it gives you something to believe in, something to work towards.
Totally. And speaking of mind-blowing possibilities.
Oh, right. We still had those questions you wrote down.
Oh, yeah, those. We didn't get to those.
One was about life on other planets.
Right.
Walsh doesn't think we're alone, does he?
Not at all. He actually says we've been visited
Wait, really? By who?
by beings from other worlds.
Let's talk about aliens, right.
Yeah, like extraterrestrials.
I don't know if I can handle any more mind-blowing revelations today.
Uh-huh. Well, this is Conversations with God, right? It's going to push some boundaries.
Okay, okay, I'm listening, but my mind is already kind of blown.
So he says there's one ultimate source of creation,
Okay, I'm with him so far.
but it expresses itself in infinite ways.
Infinite ways. What does that even look like?
It's like imagine a prism,
Okay.
and it's scattering light into all these different colors.
Right.
It's all the same light, just experienced differently.
So what, we're all connected to that same source, just seeing it through different lenses.
Exactly. Like
Right.
we each have our own unique perspective, our own way of experiencing this one divine energy.
Wow, okay. I can get behind that.
It makes you realize how interconnected everything really is.
It does, it does. Wow. We covered some serious ground today, huh?
Yeah, we really went deep.
It's a lot to digest, that's for sure, but this has been amazing.
I'm glad you brought these excerpts. It's a conversation I think a lot of people are having, even if they've never read the book.
Me too. And, you know, as we're wrapping up here, I can't stop thinking about that line, "You are my body."
Right. Such a powerful statement.
It really makes you see things differently, you know? Like, our bodies are sacred. They're not just these vessels we're stuck in.
Yeah, it's like Walsh is saying, we are God experiencing itself.
And if that's the case, if we really believe that,
And everything changes.
everything.
Our relationship with ourselves, with each other, with the planet.
That's a lot to carry with us. But it's also incredibly freeing, don't you think?
Absolutely. It takes away the pressure of trying to be perfect, to have it all figured out.
It's like we already are everything we need to be.
We just have to remember it.
Remember who we are.
Exactly. And that's the journey, isn't it?
It is. It's the journey of a lifetime. Or maybe even many lifetimes. Whoa, things are getting a little too deep for me again.
Haha, it happens.
This has been incredible, though. Thank you so much for diving into this with me.
Thanks for having me. Always a pleasure to talk about this stuff.
I think if our listeners could take away just one thing from today,
Yeah.
it would be to never stop questioning.
Love that. Question everything.
Even the things you think you know, for sure.
Especially those things.
Because like Walsh says, you are the answer to all your own prayers.
You said it.
And on that note, we'll leave you to ponder that. Until next time, keep searching, keep exploring, and most importantly, keep the conversation going.